Welcome back, everybody. I'm Pastelist Avon Waters, and today I'm going to do a nocturnal. Not just any nocturnal. I'm going to do a nocturnal that is in warm colors. If you take a look at most nocturnals, you're going to find out that most of them are in ice cold blue colors, maybe with a few warm colors mixed in for the moonlight or the highlights. But this one's going to be all warm colors, so that's a challenge. And I'm going to talk to you about how I do that challenge and how I layer this thing up. That's kind of the secret. You'll stick some cool colors and you'll stick some saturated colors in places that will just, when you put them down, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. But I'll talk to you about how I put those down and I'm looking ahead. Okay, let's get started. This is the thumbnail that I'm going to base this nocturnal off of. If you're liking the content of these videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. All right. You can see that there's a little hot spot up here in the upper left third. That's going to be the moon. That will be the light source for this demo and for this piece. Usually I will not do a color study. And if I do a color study, I do it on another thumbnail or another page. But this is a warm nocturnal. That makes this a little bit different. So I'm just going to play around with some colors here. They're not going to be the colors that I ultimately use. I just want some warm colors here to kind of play with and get an idea so that when I look over at this reference drawing, that I will be focused on remembering to use warm colors. Maybe these colors are close to what they'll end up being. Now I will start all my paintings a different way, but here I want to block this in with charcoal. Because it's a nocturnal, that's one of the decisions I made. I don't always do this. Like I said, I start differently all the time, but my thinking here is that I want to get these values right. They're subtle. So by blocking this thing in with charcoal, I can play around with the values and try to get some of those subtleties down just in grays, blacks and grays. You'll notice I don't keep much, if anything, pure white, because this is a nocturnal, so we want to tone down those grays. We want to be at one end. We're going to be at the dark end of our grayscale. If you haven't seen my videos on grayscale, take a look for it. The grayscale goes from pure white to pure black and usually is broken up into 10 different values. So we're staying at the darker end of that scale for this. And that's what this charcoal lets me do. Yeah, you see, I didn't mark off my drawing. I usually mark off my drawing into thirds, but I didn't get that done. So let's mark off the drawing into thirds. My style is very loose, so there's no need to grid this off or be very precise. A lot of people will want to make their thumbnail and then transfer it directly. If you're doing a figurative work or a portrait that's 3/4 with a room and things like that, you might want to grid it off. But even then, I know a lot of artists that are figurative drawers, and like myself, my style is very loose, and I just like the spontaneity that it comes from working freehand and redrawing my thumbnail to a larger scale. But again, it's not important. Whatever you're comfortable with, that's what's important. But with my style, I like that spontaneity. This subject, it's a lake. There's a shoreline off in the distance. I'm going to stick that in here vaguely. I'll have to play with it a little bit. The lakes around my area, I did a whole project of lakes, and so I've got a lot of references and a lot of drawings with lakes. And there's a lot of lakes that have little inlets and eddies. Reservoirs are that way too, especially reservoirs, but a lot of the lakes around me have these little areas where the shoreline's not that far away. And the lakes in Indiana just aren't very big at all, really, until you get to Lake Michigan. Now there's a big lake. Anybody that's seen a lot of my tutorials, you'll know that I use my hands a lot to smear things. It's just part of my working style. I like very, very soft edges, especially in a nocturnal like this. And by using the side of my hand and my palm, I'm able to sometimes create some movement just by moving the colors vertically or horizontal, depending on what the painting or the image requires. There, once I get this kind of roughed in, I'm satisfied with the charcoal values, it's time, let's do the alcohol wash. I'm using just isopropyl alcohol, a little container, and I usually use two kinds of brushes, a thin one and a thick one. These are just the hog hair bristles, the kind you get from the big box hardware store. They're real cheap. I start in the highlight areas. I always try to go from the highlight areas and work my way out, but I don't go quite into the middle tones. Alcohol is just a way that I can move some things around, and using alcohol, it's one of my favorite ways to underpaint things, because whether I'm using charcoal or whether I'm using color, the alcohol allows me to break up some of these big areas and create some splotches that the painting kind of tells me, oh, there might be a bush here. Oh, there might be a limb with a branch of trees coming down here. It's just a way to break up areas. Then I go into the darks and I try to use some of the darks and paint my way back towards the middle tones and join those highlights and middle tones. You can't see it, but every now and then I'm dipping down into the dust tray. There's some charcoal down in there, but there's also some violets and things I used from the last painting. So I'm trying to pick up some of those red violets, and they're mixed, so they turn out to be a red violet or a gray red violet. I really, really love the chaos that the wash stage gives me. Now here's a mistake beginning artists often make, and that's that they leave this sky or the bright areas, sky and lake reflections, they leave them all white in their underpainting. No, you've got to, there's got to be some gradation of colors if you're washing in with colors. But in this case, we're washing in with gray values. Those gray values, they have to go into those light areas. Otherwise, you've got way, way too bright, especially for a nocturnal. You're going from the white to the black. And remember, I said earlier, we want to keep this on the darker end of the scale. So those white highlight areas have to have some gray tones in them. You keep them lighter than obviously the trees and the shadows and the middle tones, but they have to have gray tones in them. Don't make that mistake. Now we're ready for color. Now, while it's great to put your highlights in the thirds, by marking it off into thirds, I'm just wanting to be I want to stay out of the center. If I'm somewhere close to where the thirds intersect with my highlights or the moon, but in this case, I'm putting it a little bit higher than where the thirds intersect. I just am feeling, it's just intuitive, I'm feeling this giant mass to the right-hand side of this thing is really a nice weight, especially since it's going to be so dark and I'm going to have these lights over in this left side of this thing. Now, as I block in, I'm still thinking about values. The colors I'm using, particularly when I blocked in the moon and some of these highlights, the color I'm using and those lights in the woods, I'll block in with just a little dab of this kind of pale yellow. But I'm thinking ahead. I'm wanting to get them light, but I know that if I go back over that with a pink, if I go back over those yellows with a pink, that almost pale yellow almost acts like a white blending with whatever color I go over. It's going to lighten it up. So it's just a way to put a place setter in there, and later once I start establishing those red violets and the pale pinks and magentas, those things will come back into focus but stay light. The red violet here is much more saturated than the end color, but again, I'm thinking ahead. Red is a very, very warm color, so if I want to keep this nocturnal warmer, I need to plant the seeds of those red colors in this foreground leading up to the middle ground as I block this thing in. The pale pink I'm using, this is a way of mixing. I'm using it almost like a transparent color. Pastels don't have transparent colors, but by using the tooth and the texture of the paper, I can go over the sky and make it almost a blue-gray, just depending on how I layer these in. And the goal is to get the blue violets and the blue-gray violets into the sky. They're in the warm colors. Blue, the violet has red in it, so our blue is cool, but by being blue-violet, we're staying on the red side. The blue violets will act as cool, even though they're a warm color when you look at the color wheel overall. The blue violets are cool colors, and as the middle tones and highlights get even warmer with those red violets and pinks and the magentas, then that really makes it these blue violets read cooler than they really are. And then maybe I'll put a hint of yellow here and there to make some of those specular highlights even warmer. The cabins and the cottages off there, the lights, they're yellow. I can get a pink and put the pink over them, and still they'll read as highlights, even though they've gone from yellow to a red violet. Always remember, the top of the sky is overhead. There's less atmosphere between us and what's overhead, so the colors are more intense. You've got to lay those colors in. If the blue violets get too cold, I can always warm them up with magentas. All right, so more hand blending here. I need to do a lot of hand blending in nocturnals because the night, it's soft. Moonlight, it's soft. I do want sharp edges, but I only want those in the center of interest, maybe where the darks meet the lights. We're not there yet, but that's typically where I stick them. At this point, the color palette is pretty well established. I'm ending the middle phase, and we're headed into the final phase of this painting. I really need to work hard to establish a realistic moon and the feel of the sky and the glow or the halo that our eyes often see around moonlight. Working on this, I need to spend a lot of time trying to make this right, because this makes or breaks any painting that includes the moon or even the sun. Get it wrong and it looks naive or even childish. So you gotta work to get that halo and the glow. Sometimes there's a sharp edge on the moon and sometimes there's not. This painting is, like I said, is in the last stages. These reds in the water are way, way too saturated. but they have to be there. They have to be in the foreground. As we move towards the foreground, the colors are typically more saturated, more intense. And the further away we get, the more they become grays, especially off in blue, violets, and grays off into the distance. But these have to have this red, because as I layer over them, I'm going to tame their saturation down. But through the layers, then, I want these saturated colors to just poke through these layers and do a little bit of shimmering. I'm at the point, this thing's far enough along into the ending stages here that at this point it's just a matter of a series of some adjustments here and there to get the painting depth to read right. You want the painting, my goal here as I'm working in the end process is to work on balancing the saturation. Did I get enough of that saturated red out? Is it reading from front to back and back to front, top to bottom, left to right? That's what I'm working on. It's just a process. Just keep working at it. Standing back, take a peek. Okay, now I've grabbed this hot pink. This is a fluorescent Diane Townsend Tirage. I'm not sure I'm saying that right, but it's those little square things that she makes. It's a hot pink. You've got to use these sparingly. You can't, a little bit goes a long way when you're dealing with those fluorescent colors. Okay, I'm getting to the point where this thing's gonna need to set on my wall and I have to look at it a little bit. It's probably not done, but I've taken this one further than I've taken most of my demos. So I hope you got something out of this. By all means, try a warm nocturnal. Well, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And next week I'll have a new topic for you. And if you're liking the content and you want to keep these videos free, please consider down in the description, I've got a link for you to buy me a cup of coffee. A little bit goes a long way. So thanks a lot. We'll have something new for you next week. Bye-bye.